I hope you all feel very sorry for me because this is a long video to film and it's a heavy book to hold up for the whole thing. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Bryony and I am one half the Indecisive Readers. I'm here today to do a video which probably isn't long anticipated, but it's a video I've been looking forward to doing for a while. I mentioned something about it back in August, but kind of overwhelmed by all the responses I got, and also because we stopped the channel, I just put it on pause. But now the channel's back, I can do it again. There's also something I talk about at the end, which means I want to do it now, and I'll put the timing of that in the description, so if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can skip to the end. However many months ago June was, I saw everyone talking about a book. Intimidated by its size whilst I was still studying, I put it off. But in June I picked it up and have been obsessed ever since. There are a lot of things that this book did well, but one I think it did particularly well was feminism. This is what I've decided to focus on for this video, and maybe one or two more depending on how this one goes. If you don't like feminism and don't really like babbling, you probably shouldn't be following this channel, but if you don't mind either of those things, please consider subscribing. It means you get more of those, and it also means you are aware when the next video comes out, whenever that is. Now, story time. Once upon a time, it was decided that men meant more than women. This decision sparked an inequality that has not nearly been conquered as much as we would like to think it has. Recent storytelling has done wonders for women. It has told women young and old that they can be their own superhero, that they are not defined by the rules society has set, and that they are no man's pet. It's given confidence to older women, given female authors a voice in a very male-heavy field, and brought girls up in a world where they are important. But we haven't always been told these stories. I went to a talk back in August that said stories of female warriors were around and were popular thousands of years ago, but we just haven't been told those stories. It's a lot easier to tell a woman to be passive if that's how it's always been done. It's also a lot easier to colonise a place if we tell the people that we will be improving their life. It's only the stories where women are passive that have been passed down, which is why a wave of feminist text seems radical. Enter the Priory of the Orange Tree and its original counterpart. I assume by now you probably know what the story is about, but if you don't, I'm just going to give you a description anyway. The Priory of the Orange Tree tells the story of the Queendom of Innis, where the House of Berethnet has kept an ancient danger at bay for nearly 1,000 years. But with danger just under the surface and assassins at the door, the need for Queen Sabran to conceive an heir becomes ever more pressing. Iad is an outsider to the court and protects Queen Sabran with magic that shouldn't exist. Tane has trained to be a dragon rider since a child, but a decision she makes now could change the course of her life. With the East and West refusing to cooperate, how will they stop the chaotic forces from rising again? You've got to understand that there's a lot more to the book given its size, but just consider that the general gist of it. This book is also described as a feminist retelling of George and the Dragon, a description I pretty much immediately accepted because there's a dragon in it and, spoiler alert, the women slay it. I did not realise until quite recently just how much inspiration Priory took from the original. In the description to this video, I'm going to point you to a Samantha Shannon essay where she investigates exactly that. She tells us all the inspiration she took, like the orange tree, the names, the characters. If you want to check that out, it'll be in the description so you can see that too. In Priory and Christian versions of the legend, a knight rescues a kingdom from a dragon. Quite often a princess is being sacrificed to the dragon, but ends up being sacrificed to the knight instead. We tend to forget with these versions that the princess often actually played a much more active part. This, unfortunately, is the reality that Priory offers us. It tells us that there are usually two sides to the story, the truth and the one that history tells us is the truth. In a patriarchal society, one version of the story is often told more. Priory encourages us to not take every tale as given and to question the stories we've been told, because so often they have erased a huge part of history. Priory gives women a voice, and by doing this it gives them power. History has awarded women one role in life, the meek mother. Strangely, Priory suggests that there is more than one type of woman. We have two fierce women who have trained for their destinies their whole life. A queen whose queendom relies on a prophecy that rests on her shoulders. A witch who is blinded by love. Ladies in waiting, scholars, captains, and more. Women occupy as much space as men in the novel, but the space they occupy is never clear-cut. What I'm about to say is far from a criticism of feminist texts, but feminist texts often feel like the women in them have to be strong for it to be considered feminist. It feels like a shortcut for writers. Let's just include a strong female and it will be considered feminist. Whilst this is sort of true, it's not the only thing that makes a text feminist, and this vision forgets that feminism isn't about the women being stronger than men, it's about women being equal. I like these kind of texts where women are strong and play a huge part, but sometimes it's nice to have a different option to see. Feminism means that sometimes women are strong, but it also sometimes means that they're not the best suited for the job. Now I'm going to talk about the thing that I think Samantha Shannon did best in terms of feminism. When a woman was in a position of power, she deserved to be there. Like I said, by now I think we're all familiar with the girl who comes into power and saves the world. A narrative that there is nothing wrong with. But in Samantha Shannon's world, the women aren't in charge because they're the only ones who will step up to the job. They're in charge because they're best suited to the role. Take Tane, the girl rescued from poverty who has trained her whole life to be a dragon rider. It is through hard work and dedication that she gets to where she is meant to be. And Iad, out of a whole priory of girls who have trained for their whole lives, it is her who is chosen. At the sidelines, there's the Golden Empress, a captain of the most feared vessel in the realm, and Leia, her translator. There is never any prejudice toward these women because of their gender. Fortunately, this opinion reaches all parts of the novel, with no one dubbing Sabran's opinions or decisions wrong or insane or hysterical just because of her gender. It could of course be argued that no one discriminates against women because there has always been a woman in charge. Like historically, England have always had a king. However, it doesn't discriminate against men in the reverse. For example, if a boy is born first, he's the one who inherits the kingdom or realm or estate. See Margaret and Loth. And if a man marries a queen, he knows he is there just to help her achieve her goal. I understand both of these examples are problematic because even if a boy is born first, it doesn't mean he's best suited for the role. Likewise, even though using a man to have an heir is still using a man, basing a whole country's survival on the ability for a woman to have a child still isn't that progressive. However, no matter how progressive this particular moment seems, Samantha Shannon takes care to remind us it was not always so. As I've already said, the reader gets two versions of the story, the two versions creating two radically different societies. The first society, which seems matriarchal on the surface, is a society with a history of queens. For all it is and seems feminist, it's founded on the back of a story that refused to give women a voice. Plus, no matter what women have done since then, all that's remembered is a man slayed a dragon once. And let's be honest, the man told everyone the world would be okay as long as one of his descendants would be on the throne, undoubtedly expecting a long succession of male warriors. The other society tells a story where women not only have a voice and save the day, but where a woman shuns a man in order to tell her own story. Priory reminds us it's important to pass down the stories where women tell their own, because we haven't been allowed to hear them in the past. It wouldn't be right to talk about this book without at least briefly mentioning the monsters, the most obvious being the big dragon on the cover, but there are two more that I'm going to mention here. The first is Caliba, the Witch of the Woods. She is a witch because even in feminist texts, women don't have to be perfect or even good. Although how evil she is up for debate because her whole story is told by a man, again. The second monster is the monsters Samantha Shannon spoke about at Yauk, and that's Gallion Berethnet, the man who is meant to be amazing and an embodiment of everything good, but actually ends up being an embodiment of everything bad with chivalry. Samantha Shannon hates him because he slayed a dragon, but she also hates him because he erased a woman's voice from history. When you put it this way, it's easy to see how a man who completely wiped a woman from history could be seen as a monster. I don't know how well I explained it today, but this video is basically the first of maybe two or possibly even more depending on how the first one goes. In the next video I will be discussing other books, films, TV shows, songs I think discuss the same things as Priory or discuss them differently in terms of feminism. What I'm going to do now is tell you what those topics are, so if anything jumps out to you as an obvious comparison or a comparison you think I should make, whether it would contrast Priory or agree, I'd be really interested in them. So if you want to shout at me in the comments or anywhere else, that's fine, and I will try to check it out. There are a lot on my list already, so I may split the next video into two or more if other people reply and enjoy it. So yeah. The first thing I will talk about is women being in power, then in comparison to that, women having to fight to be in power or women just not being in power at all. Next, we have women whose stories get stolen, the women who get to tell their own stories, and the women who literally lose their own voice. Then we have the women who have a purpose in the story compared to those who are just there as an object, quite often for the male gaze. I will also be talking about books and films that are considered feminist even though they talk about or include things that are typically feminine. I will also be talking about women not fighting each other, and then even though I don't necessarily agree with it, I couldn't not include it, and that is the Bechdel test. The final thing I will be talking about is women reclaiming their sexuality, and with that, sex for duty versus sex for pleasure. And the final thing I want to talk about is something I've only come up with recently, and I don't know if anyone else would be interested in it, but I want to reread this book. I wanted to reread it in July, but that was ridiculous because it's that thick and I'd only finished it about 2 weeks earlier. So I've been waiting until the paperback comes out, and I know a lot of other people are, but also a lot of people haven't read it once because they are rightfully so intimidated by the size. Are you coming to join in now? Are you going to be in my video? I had to put it down now because of you. No? Okay. I want to reread it because I want to reread it, but also I want to reread it because I kind of want to annotate it. I haven't annotated this because it's hardback, but when the paperback comes out I want to, so I can talk about this book more specifically rather than just talking about this book as a whole. So what I was wondering was, would anyone be interested in doing a read along for the book? I just wonder if lots of people want to reread it, or if it would give people the courage to start it once. If there were a group of people who wanted to reread it at the same time, it might encourage you to do it and it might feel a bit less intimidating, is my thought. But anyway, if people are interested in doing it, what I might do is listen to the audiobook, make a summary of each of the chapters, and then split it up, maybe 5 chapters a week or something, or whatever people think is achievable and would work. So yeah, I'd be interested if you'd enjoy doing it. I'll also put it on Twitter and Instagram to see if it's something people would be interested in for people that don't check out this video. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and maybe subscribing so you're there when the next one comes out. If you enjoyed the topic, found it interesting, or if there's anything you'd like to hear more about, please let me know in the comments. Likewise, if there are any book or film or song recommendations you think I should check out for the next one, please comment or send me a message on my social media links. And if you want to do the read along, please let me know, because I'm going to be rereading it whether or not you join in. So until then, I will see you in the next video. Bye!